Today, we're joined by SJSU Online student and ambassador Aline who's going to discuss what it means for her to complete her degree while also parenting. So before we get into today's topic, can you introduce yourself to our viewers and share a few of the significant moments in your life that have shaped who you are and led you to become an SJSU Online student and ambassador?
Yes. My name is Aline. I live in Southern California, and I have two young children, 8 and 9. And I had always wanted to go back to school since I was younger because I wasn't able to complete school younger. I had to work, I had two jobs, just circumstances just never worked out. And it was always hard when you're working two jobs to find a school that could fit your schedule. So when the pandemic happened and things slowed down a little bit, I thought, you know what, this might be the perfect time to look online to see what I can do because everything was moving to online platforms. And I checked it out. It was definitely doable. So just took it one step at a time because my kids were home from school and slowly just started getting the hang of it and started talking to counselors to see what I needed to do. And I wanted to be an anthropologist since I was young. It was like a childhood dream of mine. And I was like, I'm going to go back and that's what I'm going to do. I've always wanted to do that. I went completely different. I was in the legal field for 14 years. And I'm like, now this is my chance to fulfill my childhood dream and make it a reality for myself. So when I finished my associates for transfer, I started looking into what schools had online programs. And I applied to a lot of schools. Already toward this time, a lot of the schools were going off online and they were starting to make their classes live or in person, or there were set times that I had to join. And when you're working, you have kids, all these things, it's just very hard to try to um, run around all that stuff and go to school at the same time. So I just happened to find this school, SJSU, and it said the program was completely online. So I applied not knowing if I would get in or not. It was one of my 6 schools that I applied to. And I got accepted into all 6 schools that I applied to. But once I started going and looking through their schedules, I realized that all of them had partial online and some in person, or had it in person or only at set times for online school. So I decided right then and there, regardless of where I got in, SJSU is the school for me. And I'm so glad I made that decision. It's probably been one of the best decisions this year that I've made so far. And even though I just started a few months ago, I am not stressed out about school at all. Being able to, like, I have a deadline and I know what I need to do. I have a set time every night after I put my kids to bed. I do my work, and the professors are always very helpful. All the texts, the videos, everything is included in the modules. I haven't really had to go looking for anything. They have office hours. Everyone has just been so helpful in making me feel successful so far. And so far, I think I'm doing good. I don't have any complaints, and everything's been easy. And if I've had questions, everyone's been there to help, from how to enroll in the classes, how to pay for them, to what I need to do next. So I'm just really happy that I chose this school, and I'm very excited to continue.
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks so much for providing that backstory just for us to learn a little bit more about your life and how you got to where you are now. It was just so cool to hear about how you've had this dream of being an anthropologist since you were young.
Yeah.
And, as all of us, as we're growing up, we have, these dreams we're kind of imagining what our possible futures could look like. And then life happens, right? And, like you mentioned, like you had to work, you had to raise a family, like you had to take care of all these responsibilities, but you never let that dream get too distant from you. And I guess fortunately we had this thing that we all experienced in different ways, where it did kind of challenge us to pause and reflect and really think about, are there things that we want to reevaluate or different directions that we want to go in? And it sounds like you took that as an opportunity to really think about continuing to move closer to that dream that you've had since you're so young. And it was just really serendipitous that we were also then starting to offer this fully online program at the same time that you were searching for it. And also, shout out to you, by the way, for getting into all the programs that you applied to. That's amazing. Hopefully that says something about us too, that you decided to choose SJSU in the end and that you're having a great experience so far. And actually, I think with what you were sharing about some of your experiences, that's a good segue into today's conversation where, we want to dive a little bit deeper into like, what does it mean for you to go through the experience of completing your degree while you're also juggling all these other priorities and responsibilities that you have of, your family, work, life, etc. So first, I was wondering if you can just highlight what's been one of the challenges for you when it comes to completing your degree while also parenting.
It's actually being able to find ways to make the time. So I have to be really organized to stay on top of the studies because life happens. The other day was Halloween. We didn't get home until like 9:30 at night. By the time I got the kids to bed, it was like almost 11. Still went and spent an hour reading what I had to read because even that 1 hour that I did put me ahead so I wouldn't fall behind the next day. And sometimes it's the costs, because life is expensive. Kids are expensive. It's being able to say, okay, I need to take this many classes, or I can only dedicate this much to school right now. And this program allows me to do that. There's not like, I don't have to take like, I don't have to take 4 or 5 classes at the same time. If I want to do it 1 or 2 at a time, they allow that because then that's a little bit more flexibility for me and I can actually afford it versus other schools. Like, we have a minimum, you have to take these many classes in a semester, and then that shoots the cost up. And another thing, not having to buy the textbooks so far, it all being included for me is a relief because my old school, I had to buy so many textbooks and half of them didn't even get used. But it's about being organized and, again, things are going to happen. It's not freaking out and definitely not waiting last minute. My kids do have a lot of activities as well. So it's trying to like go to school, like drop them off, go to work, pick them up, do their homework, make dinner. So I've found little ways to be more organized. So I'll meal prep for the week too. So then that's one less thing I have to do. And, the other day they got McDonald's for dinner and that's okay too. There's just times that you have to kind of go with the flow and do what works for you at that moment. But I mean, I try my best to keep a good balance, but the most important thing is I don't let my school affect their daily lives. And because of the way that it is set up and the fact that I can do it at my own pace, I know when my due dates are. I'm not going to let anything go beyond that. But having such a clear, concise calendar from the professors really helps me to plan out my week. And again, not taking anything away from my kids. Sometimes it is a little stressful and it is a little hard, but again, it's like if I do a little bit every night, then I'm not going to overwhelm myself. So I just try my best. That's all.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean that's all real. And as a fellow parent, I can relate to you on the Halloween thing, and also just the having to plan ahead a lot. But it
Mhm.
sounds like you're able to really take that same type of mindset and apply it to completing your degree too, right? Really trying to be proactive, planning ahead, and then figuring out where other small amounts of time where you can make
Mhm.
progress because you have these other um, responsibilities and
Yes.
priorities that are competing with your dream and your goals of also completing your degree. Um, so, I mean, I appreciate hearing that part of it, and then also the other part of it of like you talked about just kind of the overall flexibility, both in terms of the course load that you can take, but then corresponding
Yeah.
to that is the cost that
Yeah.
you're taking on at a time too. So you're able to kind of manage that
Mhm.
based on whatever fits best with you and where you're at in life right now, and kind of what you can take on or how much
Yeah.
progress you're able to make at this point in time. So that's great to hear that the model that we're offering, really kind of aligns with your lifestyle and what you need to be able to do all the things that you need to take care of on a daily basis and weekly basis.
Yeah.
And I guess with that too, I'm kind of wondering, do you have an example or a story that you can share of maybe a way in which you've been able to apply what you've learned in your program into your own life so far, or maybe a way that you've been able to bring your life experiences into your program?
Sure. I think a little bit of both. In the last class that I took, which was Anthro 151, we were learning a lot about the body, muscles, and it was funny. My son was learning the same stuff at school. So when he was coming home, we were doing our homework together. And I was like, John, that's the zygomatic bone. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, I just had an assignment on that. So it was so funny that how like what I was doing and he was doing, and he was like, wow, mom, you're so smart. And I'm like, okay. But another thing that I learned that I had never heard of this, but I actually printed it out. This is one of the assignments I had. It was called a anthropology optometry assignment. And it actually, I did it on my husband. It's a work station assessment table. My husband works from home and he's sitting in front of a computer sometimes 10 to 12 hours a day. Not every day he works from home, but the days that he does, he is sitting in front of that computer a lot. And the professor sent us to a website that would basically help you get the best, like what your monitor height should be, what your chair height should be, where your arm should be at. And believe it or not, I did it on him and I adjusted some of the numbers that I had. I was like, your arms are too high, your chair is too low, your monitor, if you bring it down. And I swear it has made such a difference for him. Like, and for me too, and we have two different offices. I did it for myself too, and my wrist does not. Maybe it's power of the mind as well, but that was something that I had never heard of, that a professor gave to us as an assignment, and I applied it here in our home, and it really made a big difference for both of us. I find myself not slouching. See, now I'm not in my chair, I'm slouching, but when I'm sitting at my office, I'm not slouching anymore, and the screen is perfect, exactly where I need to be, where I'm making more of an effort to sit straight. But an overall life experience, I think being mature and being the age that I am, I approach things a lot more differently now than when I did when I was younger. Like, I know I've learned how to prioritize things, and by being organized, I think that's one thing that I've brought into this program with me, that I know how to be able to do both without really taking away from the other, or sacrificing the school for my kids or my kids for the school. So I think I've learned to bring a good life balance with me to this program so I can be successful.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like, there's already so many direct applications of, you're not just learning for yourself and learning to like
No.
get your degree and check the box, but you've already been able to directly apply it with your family, just in terms of like the relationships that you're building with your children and your spouse, and also just the overall like health that you're able to, provide and help, yourself and your husband now, especially when you think about how much we spend, sitting, working, using devices, all those sorts of things, right? The long-term effects that can have on us. Yeah, and I liked your point about really thinking about how at this point in your life, you're able to bring in the wisdom and experiences that you have and apply it into the program, and think about the balance that you're able to create. Because I think in a lot of ways, for people who maybe who've been away from school for a long time, there might be a lot of maybe hesitation or concerns about the idea of like returning to school and what does that mean and can I do it, and maybe like questioning like their confidence and abilities. But I think you're kind of putting a positive spin on it, is like you see that as a strength and how you're able to utilize that as a part of your overall experience in the program. So I think that's great. And maybe just to wrap up our conversation for today, what are you most proud of as you complete your degree?
I think just being able to keep that balance. And I have to say, like, having this program has really been a godsend for me, for my life, for what I needed. And I could not be more happier that I've been able to. People were telling me, if you go back to school, you're going to drop the ball on something. Your kids are going to miss out. You're going to have to sacrifice your kids. You're going to have to sacrifice your husband. It's going to affect your marriage. And I said, no, I know what I'm doing. This program is completely online. No one is even going to know what I'm doing. And they literally don't. I put them to bed. I go into the office and I do what I need to do. So I think so far that I've been able to keep that balance, and like it hasn't put any added pressure on my husband or my kids or their schooling or their activities or my home life, what I need to do here. I think right now, I don't know, maybe in a few months it might be a little different. And I can handle a little bit more pressure. I'm okay with that. But I think that's, at this moment, that's my proudest accomplishment, because no one has missed out on anything from me trying to further something for myself. So it's not like I'm not coming off as like, oh, she's that selfish person who decided to, do this for herself at such an old age with young kids. And no one can say that, because like half the people don't even like know, they don't even understand. Like, nothing has changed. They see me all the time. They see me at school. They see me at the activities. I'm doing my cooking. I'm doing everything. So it's like, As far as people know, I'm not even in school.
Nice. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, it's just so great to hear that again, with the model that we have created, you're able to enroll, make progress towards your degree while also continuing to do the things that are important to you, maintaining, the relationships that you have, keep staying on top of all the other responsibilities and priorities and all those things. And you're able to kind of like compartmentalize this in a way where like it fits in with your life. And you're able to make it all work with everything else. So I think that's great. I think that's what we intend, is like, we want this to be able to work with people where they are at this point in their lives, to be able to continue to pursue this goal while also doing all the things that they need to and want to in life. Although I would say one thing, hopefully, even though you said people don't really know that you're in school at this point, I hope you do really spread the word at some point and let people know that you are reaching this really major milestone, especially for your children. I'm sure they're going to be so proud just to know that their mom is completing their degree while also raising children and being involved in all their activities and all these things. Like that's like superhero status. So make sure that you make them aware of that. They need to know for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I wish I had this program 20 years ago. It would have been a lot more different, going to school at your own pace. If I was young these days, that's what I would do, especially if I had to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it is tough, right? Like you said, when you have to kind of make decisions around what are the different trade-offs or opportunity costs of like trying to complete a degree when maybe you also need to work, or you need to care for a child or an elderly parent, or like all these things are going on, or you have to commute very long distances for your job or for school. There's only so much time in the day and there's only so much bandwidth. So it is nice that we have these options now where you are able to continue to make progress towards these goals and do the things that that we need to do. So anyway, well, thank you, Aline, for sharing your insights about your experiences and about the value of SJSU Online. I really appreciate it. Thank you to our viewers, as always, for watching. If you'd like to, you can visit our website, sjsu.edu/online, to learn more about our programs and get in contact with an enrollment counselor, and we will catch you in the next episode.